Okay, everyone, welcome to Enlightened Discussions, where Michelle and I will be sharing with you our experience and our viewpoints and different practices that you can do about these 8 core topics. Okay, so the first one we're going to start with is balancing masculine and feminine energies, also like divine masculine, divine feminine. So I know this is a juicy topic. This relates to everything that you're doing, including entrepreneurship, including spiritual development, including relationships, including personal growth. It's really, everything is here, and so this is relevant for everyone. So I'd love to hear from Michelle. Michelle, how do you practice this, or how do you understand how this works?
Yeah, so for me, balancing my masculine and feminine energies and the work that we've been doing with clients to support them in doing this as they build their business is it's 2 factors. And the first factor is that it's a long-term view. Balancing your masculine and feminine energies is a long-term, big picture process that involves high levels of clearing, emotional and psychological healing, integration, and it's something that isn't just part of your business, it's something that you're doing across all spectrums and all areas of your life, right? So it's a long-term, longue-durée process. And so the more we know this and understand this, we can be patient with it. We can be patient with the process. And the other piece about it is that it's a short-term process, that integrating and balancing your masculine and feminine energies is something that we do on the micro scale every day, and we can rapidly accelerate the long-term process of balancing our masculine and feminine energies by being very aware of the micro movements of how we're using our masculine and feminine energies in the day-to-day in order to speed up this long-term big picture progress.
Okay, yeah. Let me add to that real quick.
Yeah.
So, I'll just say, like, first of all, how I understand this process, and it all comes back to seeing an image from a Hindu text or a yogic text many years ago. Okay, and they show the different chakras, right, and the different ways that the energy kind of moves up the chakras, and it kind of coalesces at the point between the eyebrows, right? And so somebody in the Hindu tradition especially would say that your energy kind of comes up and you ascend, like pretty literally up, your central channel, and your energy kind of rises, and it comes, the last point is the point between the eyebrows. Okay, so this is where you're going. This is the end of the journey. And when I combine this with my understanding from Buddhism, the right channel is the masculine channel, the left channel is the feminine channel. And so, the right is the feminine, the left is the masculine. And so the end of your journey is when you have balanced your masculine and feminine. It's not something that you finish before your job is complete. And so balancing masculine and feminine is actually pretty synonymous with spiritual ascension.
Yes.
Okay, that's the main conclusion. And so you could ask, how is it possible to ascend your energy and kind of fully balance? And according to the Hindu tradition, the main tool that they use, besides faith, of course, faith is possibly their main tool, but their actual main tool besides that is concentration. Hindu practice has the deepest, ways of concentration. Buddhism and Hinduism both. Hinduism and Buddhism are not the same, but they both contain very complete instructions on concentration and meditation. Okay? And so through Hindu or Buddhist practices, or learning from people like us, you can learn to actually develop your meditative absorption, your meditative concentration, and this is the actual thing that will produce the balancing. Now, according to Buddhism, it doesn't just balance up here in the heart as well. All your 4 elements become balanced too. Perfect health arises from here. Miracle powers can come as well. So there's other things that can happen when you fully get there. But like as you progress spiritually, you are balancing masculine and feminine, and as you balance masculine and feminine, you are progressing spiritually. So that's how we can understand it. And one more quick point is bringing it back to the day-to-day. Concentration, yes, really cool. However, doesn't work really by itself. You need other things to kind of allow yourself to meditate and concentrate well. And the 2 key ones that I would mention here are patience and effort. Okay, so in Buddhism, there's like a 6-fold way of practicing, and the three of the core ones in order are patience, effort, concentration. Okay, so these are really what is required to day, patience, especially patience, is what allows you to accept your masculine side, accept your feminine side, accept the different things, accept other people's masculine, accept other people's feminine, forgive, like all that stuff is essentially a practice of patience, right, which is acceptance, okay? And also, it's not just that, it's like, it takes patience to sit down every day and go through the discomfort of trying to meditate and trying to meditate and trying to meditate and keeping your mind steady all day. Like, it's a job, and it takes patience because it's uncomfortable. Anything uncomfortable requires patience for us to do. And so it's uncomfortable to progress spiritually, and that's why patience is required for that too, and effort. So patience and effort together are what will push you to develop concentration. And the concentration from a meditative standpoint is what will finally balance these two. In day-to-day, it's mostly things like acceptance, faith, and special ways of thinking that maybe Michelle can mention. So I hope that's good as a little segue. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. So as we connect to balancing our masculine and feminine, understanding that this is a key part of our divine soul union, right? This is a key part of becoming one with our soul and then living and acting from that place here on earth. And understanding that as you develop yourself and develop your own relationship with yourself, with your heart, with your soul, you are navigating like the inner relationship between all of these pieces. And I think that's kind of what John was getting at, is we have our inner masculine, we have our inner feminine, and they're engaging and they're interacting with each other in a way like a relationship. And as we understand that and then untangle it, we're actually writing the script of how relationships are to be, right, for the future, for the new earth, for the rest of humanity. So it's this inner work that you're doing, this balancing of your masculine and feminine that you're doing, is not just important for you and for your own sense of peace and balance and spiritual progress and enlightenment, but you're actually paving the way for possibly an entire collective to be able to receive the work that you've done. So if you're on this progress of balancing your masculine and feminine energies, I just want to encourage you. I want to praise you for the work that you're doing, and to help you connect and see that it's not just for your own personal growth, but that it's for everybody, that you're benefiting every living being by doing this.
You bring up a really interesting point, Michelle. So I want to get back to the main topic in a second of how to practice day to day of balancing masculine and feminine, and I have something to share about that. But you brought up something so interesting that I want to jump to a little bit tangent here. Making yourself into a surrogate for all living beings. How much would you say that you practice that in your daily life?
Yeah, I would say every day.
Every day.
Every day. Every day I know that every shift that I'm moving through is not just for me, but it's for every person that I'm here to help, that I'm here to benefit, that it's even for people down the road, generations down the road, right?
Wow.
How much can we make our inner work not about us?
It's so beautiful.
Right?
It's so beautiful, and it's also more powerful. So doing a practice for our own sake, is good. There's different levels of motivation for doing it for yourself, and some of them are quite good and enlightened. But doing it for others, and doing it for all others, and using yourself as an example to kind of help everyone, doing the work on behalf of everyone, this is the most powerful way to do anything. And according to Buddhism, the motivation that you do an action with determines how powerful it is, determines what kind of action and how powerful. So your actual motivation or intention for doing something determines the power and the quality. And so here you're doing it, it's obviously good quality, it's good intention, but because the power, you're doing it for everybody, it makes it into something you can say infinitely powerful.
Yeah.
Because you're doing it for infinite people, right? For infinite time. So this is probably one of the secrets that I'm finally kind of picking up from Michelle of something that she's doing, and this is the first time I've been able to articulate it, but this is probably one of her secrets to her fast progress over the last few years, is like not just doing it for herself, but like turning herself into a surrogate and then doing it for others. And I used to have a similar experience when I would teach meditation classes. Now I'm sure all of you can relate to this. Before you go and do a class or do a session or something, you start to, if it's like a powerful one in particular maybe, you go through an experience or a process before the class, and it can be like, why is this coming up for me? And you could judge yourself or whatever, but as soon as I started realizing this is simply what my students are going through and I need to process it for their sake, so that I can teach them from the side of the solution, but I'm also energetically taking some of it away from them to make their minds light enough so they can actually process the solution. If someone's too heavy with it, you can't get in. So you have to, as a teacher and a guide, sometimes you have to take away the heavy parts of it and then process it yourself as if you were them, and it might be harder than what you're used to. And then you teach the solutions that you find from that place, so you have to actually work the solutions out. And then once you find the solutions, you can teach them that, but it matches their experience perfectly, and so they're able to grow quickly because of that, and you've kind of held them, by taking some of their stuff away from them, and they can transform in that container. So I found this, and I never even really considered myself like a psychic or anything like that. So for all of you watching this, you're probably very sensitive people. Like, play around with considering yourself a surrogate and actually intentionally becoming one for others, doing all your spiritual work on behalf of everyone, and just watch how powerful it transforms you.
I really appreciate that point, and I think it's really applicable to the day-to-day. And I think that's a really excellent point. And the more that you can make your inner work not about you, the more powerful it is, the more positive of an impact that it has. And giving yourself permission to detach a little bit as well. This is also an extremely powerful tool to detach a little bit from the day-to-day things that are happening in your life.
The way that I would sometimes do this is thinking of myself as an example. I try to become a good example for others, and that allows you to kind of tap into a little bit higher level of your practice, so that you're not just doing it for yourself, you're literally doing it to demonstrate to other people how to do it, right? And it's just a higher level of accountability, and it's similar to what Michelle's saying. So back to this point about divine relationships and balancing masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
So I can just say, like, in my experience, a really good, like, what happens to us where they're not balanced. So like, it's good to know that the balanced state is the natural state.
Yeah.
So when they're fully balanced, that's actually the most natural. The things that make it unbalanced are the little obstructions that get in the way. It's our own.
Or big, depending on your bloodline.
I use that word to kind of help us to release them, but sure, whatever size they are, it doesn't matter. In the grand scheme of things, they're quite small. They're small enough that we can get rid of them. So it's natural, okay? And so from that perspective of it being fully natural to be fully balanced, and it's fully natural to be completely awake. The only thing stopping us from being awake and balanced is our own, in this context, I'm going to say rejection. It's our rejection of things.
Yeah.
So we're rejecting one side or the other. We reject masculine, we reject feminine. I used to notice this. I had a business partner before I met Michelle, who was a young man around my age, and he was like fully masculinated, right? And it was very, or at least that was the expression. And it was actually quite hard sometimes. It was very hard because he was like this. He also had this way where he was very pushy, like salesperson type of, very influential, slightly manipulative sometimes. It was like that. And I found that I disliked him in many moments. And what I found when I really went deep is like, I'm actually rejecting a masculine side of myself. Obviously there were things that I didn't like that were appropriate to not like, I would suppose. I guess there's a mixed bag, but like the big lesson I ended up taking away that really helped me a lot was like I was rejecting my own masculine side. I was rejecting my masculine power, and as a result, I needed to accept it, and I needed to forgive him. And when I forgave him on behalf of like all men, essentially, I was able to unlock a side of myself where I could then embody that expression of being like a fully embodied man, like a attuned, structured man, right? And so this is a lot of us. If you're watching this, I'm gonna guess you're a little bit on the side of the feminine, a little bit resistant masculine structure, and possibly that kind of stuff. So like, just check it out. Is there a man in your life that you need to forgive, which will unlock your own ability to be balanced? Because the other thing we do is we outsource, right? So like, I was outsourcing before I met Michelle. I didn't want to embody certain feminine qualities. I wanted to find a woman to do that for me, right? So like, I thought, okay, I'm one half, the girl's gonna be one half, therefore I'm actually strategically not gonna embody feminine things so that I can attract the girl who is. Does that make sense? I wanted to be like the perfect fit. And what I realized is it actually doesn't work that way, and I eventually just learned to accept my feminine side. I learned to embody my feminine side, and lo and behold, I met Michelle right afterwards, right? And so when we actually accept all of who we are and become whole, that's when we meet other people who are whole, and that's when we attract the right person. Trying to like be half and find the other half is really not a fun game. It's a really shallow experience, and it leaves us thirsty pretty much all the time. Mm-hmm. If you want to stop being thirsty, if you want to be satisfied and fulfilled, accept all of yourself, and then you will become a match for other people who have done the same.
Yeah, that's a really deep and profound point. And understanding that everything that's playing out outside of you in your own outer world, the outer dramas that are unfolding outside of you. John described one for himself and myself. I had a marriage that I worked through, and I talk quite a bit about this in our love program. But moving through that outer drama and understanding that it's simply a mirror and it's simply a reflection of something that's trying to be communicated to you within your inner world. And as you approach it from this level of skill and insight and mastery, you set yourself up to make extremely rapid progress in your own personal growth. And there's really not much that accelerates you faster than doing deep work on balancing your inner feminine and inner masculine, like what we're talking about.
Yeah. And just to highlight again, the key thing, in my opinion, to look out for is the rejection. Is actually rejecting it. When does it feel uncomfortable? You hear a man, maybe like me, talking you through some sort of masculine process or structure, and your mind rejects it. No, I don't want to be put in a box. And it just feels gross, but why? It's because we haven't embraced that side of ourselves. We're rejecting our own masculine side, and as a result, we find ourselves continuing to be attracted to men who have too much of that, or maybe they have the right amount, but we're just not seeing them as complete because we ourselves are not complete. Okay? So this is a big problem, and I know that just by saying it right now, a lot of you you're not gonna get it because it's too deep for you right now. But please just take my word for it to look out for the ways that you're rejecting masculine or feminine things. And here's the little insight that will help. Our mind projects in both directions the same things. Our mind is not a video recorder, it's a video projector. It's projecting our reality, and it projects out and it projects in. And we have judgments about other people, and we have the same judgments about ourselves. And we have judgments about ourselves, and we have the same judgments about others. If you find yourself talking about other people in one way, you better bet that you're thinking the same thing about yourself. Doesn't mean you are that way, it means that you're thinking that way about yourself, right? And the same thing, if you are really, really hard on yourself, guess what? You're hard on others. If you have very high expectations of yourself, guess what? You have high expectations of others. It's just true, okay? And so in this way, you can see that by rejecting masculine outside, you're rejecting masculine inside, which means you're always going to need it to show up on the outside because you won't ever have it within. I know I said that fast. If you're rejecting it outside, it means you're rejecting it inside, which means you won't have it, which means you'll only be like in the feminine side, which means you're always going to need somebody outside of you to play out the masculine side, which means you'll always be dependent on a relationship, on that relationship. Whereas if you can accept it outside, accept it inside, you can become whole and complete, because that's the only natural thing. The rejection is the unnatural thing. The acceptance is accepting what is. You have both. They're both fine. There's nothing wrong with either one. Yes, we've been abused and hurt by masculine things before. Whatever. We've been abused and hurt by feminine things too. We have to learn to accept all of it. This is life. No one said that we're in like a Candyland place. Like, life has rough edges sometimes. We need to accept what is. And then we can be whole. We'll come into balance. And then guess what? Maybe you'll enjoy a relationship, but you won't need it anymore. You won't be dependent, you'll be fulfilled, and that's the best way, that's the only way actually, to really enjoy a relationship and to make it healthy. That's where the health in a relationship comes from, the fact that you're only doing it for the right reasons and not because you think you need it.
And isn't that sweet? Talk about candy, yes. Isn't that the sweet?
Okay, so this is a big point. You may have to rewatch this video a few times, but the end of the day, accept, and you can do that by just simply saying, I accept. You have to notice where you're not accepting, and then just look at it and be like, I accept. And then you open your heart. It's an actual process of opening your heart. You embrace it, you face it and embrace it. Love it for what it is. Acceptance means that you open your heart and embrace something without wishing it to be different. You can be happy no matter what. You can be happy with being masculine too, and with masculine things existing, and with feminine things existing, and with them coexisting. You can be happy no matter what. You don't wish it to be different. If you're wishing it to be different in that moment, you're not in acceptance. Okay?
It's true.
So this is how you say it. You look at it, you use magic words, and you say, I accept this as it is without wishing it to be different. And just kind of keep saying that, and eventually your wisdom, your heart will open, and you'll actually see it, and your heart will line up with the words. The words are like an enchantment. It like opens the sesame, opens the door, right? Open sesame, opens that door. Saying these words to yourself will open your heart. I accept this as it is without wishing it to be different. The heart opens, and then you will. Finally, at some point, you will accept it and embrace it as it is. You'll be happy no matter what. And this is where a strength and indestructibility of mind comes from. A mind that isn't swayed by things outside yourself going wrong, right? They call it a mind like a blacksmith's anvil. You can whack it and whack it and whack it and nothing happens. What if life throws everything at you and you just remain calm, still, peaceful, centered, happy, quiet? That's a strong mind, and acceptance is the key to that. Acceptance is the key to that. Okay, so go practice that. Go practice that right now. Just think about what are the things that you're not accepting in general. It could be like stubbing your toe, or a line at the DMV, or traffic, or internet phone company isn't working, you have to be on hold or something. Whatever it is, or my partner is acting in a way that I don't like, or I'm just not good enough today. Whatever it is that is uncomfortable, think great, wonderful, opportunity to practice. I'm so happy that this is going wrong, because that means I can practice right now. And then you think, I accept this as it is without wishing it to be different. And your heart will open, and you'll feel happy. Okay, so go practice that, and then try to apply it to masculine and feminine stuff. Like, okay, I see my feminine side, I accept without wishing it to be different. My feminine side is flowy, it's intuitive, it doesn't want to be put in a box. I accept without wishing it to be different. Okay, my masculine side, it wants structure. It wants things to be based on intention. It wants, it wants to create things. It wants to be in action, right? It wants that kind of, it wants to dominate, for lack of a better word, or like hold the power somewhere. I accept without wishing it to be different. And you'll start to accept it. And the little cue that you can always use to help yourself is, what are you seeing about others? Do you find that you're resistant to certain people, and why? You're probably resistant to those qualities within yourself, and if you could accept them, you accept everything, and life just becomes sweet. So that's how I've done it for myself. I'm not saying that this is the only way. This is the way that I've done it. Also, applying lots of effort and energy towards meditation practice is the other way. So those things, plus learning at the core of man and women, we're not any different. We have the same sort of mental continuum. Our minds are not different at the core, but the way our mind are configured to our body is different, and you can accept other people as being no different at the core, but having differences, manifest. And that's good. You can accept and celebrate each other's differences too. Okay, so those are just how I've done it, and I look forward to hearing how you guys are doing it, and Michelle as well. Like, are there any other tips that you can share?
Yeah, I think the simple point that could be added right now that I think hasn't been said, but I think is powerful and pertinent, which is that every living being around you is partially here to reflect something back to you, right? Either that's something positive about you that you haven't yet embodied and embraced, or it's something negative that you haven't yet accepted because you're rejecting it, right? Either way, it's a rejection, just kind of in alignment with what John said, but understanding that the world is a kaleidoscope for you to see and observe and to remember all of the facets of who you truly are.
And that's faith. That's a big practice of faith, that the only way you get to the next level is faith in this type of way. Yeah, can you repeat that again in a different way? It's a powerful point. I'd love to hear it kind of said a different way.
Yeah. So everything that you see in others, in other living beings, in other humans, even in animals or in plants, every emanation, every note, every unique musical note that arises and appears to you from life, from all of the life around you, is simply a reflection and a mirror and a return to either an aspect of you that you have not yet fully embraced, that is part of your up level, or that you're rejecting, that is something that you don't want to see about yourself, in order to return back to you, in order to integrate, so that it doesn't have power over you anymore. And in each moment, you have a choice. You have a choice to love and accept yourself or not. And from that ritual and practice, you can remember who you truly are.
Beautiful. So I'd love to end on that note. Thank you all so much for watching this video. The only thing you can do to repay us is to go practice it. That's the only thing we want you to do as a repayment for, I know we've shared with you today, our own energy and experience that took us many, many years to develop. You might be thinking, wow, I'm so grateful. Good, I'm happy you are. That's a very good thing for you. And the next step is to practice it, because that's all we actually want from you, is to practice and to transform, and then to help the people around you to do the same. All right, so after you do that, come back, watch the next video, and I'll see you in the next video. All right.
We'll see you then.